So, hi, welcome everybody. Yeah, we did buzzword bingo and said, what's the most hipster thing we can possibly talk about? So, conversational BI is what we're going to talk about in the world of data products. So, obviously, we're on the data product stage. Who knows what a data product is? Who's never used a data product? Good. Well, you're in the right stage. This makes sense. So, we mainly wanted to kind of recap a little bit the ideas of what a good data product looks like, and then kind of challenge it and go, some of that stuff changes, and some of the stuff doesn't change but gets easier when we're in this world of talking with your data and chatting with your data, and we kind of want to just articulate why, what that means, and kind of take you on that journey. That's my plan. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Cool. Who are you?
Hello everyone, my name is East. I'm the head of analytics at a small consultancy called Advanced Analytics, and I'm sharing the stage with Simon.
Hi. So yeah, I'm one of the owners of Advancing, and we help lots of people doing engineering, analytics, AI, all of that stuff. It's not a sales pitch. That is all we'll tell you about us. If you want to know about us, come talk to us on the stand. Let's talk about data products.
Cool. So, we said we'd do a recap. I'm sure this is not the first or the last time you'll see a definition or hear a definition about what a data product is. We're not going to go into the technical details. We're just going to go broadly. It is something that is reusable. It's reliable. It has a valuable output that is designed with a customer in mind. The data itself is focused around ownership, has SLAs. It is got the good, rigorous management around it. But if we kind of taking the lens of the data warehousing, it is is your warehousing layer with a semantic model as well as documentation and reports and interfaces on top of that. But if we take a step back and talk about what makes a good product. So this is
Can I dive in for one little second?
Go ahead, Simon.
I want to make one point of clarity. We talk about data products, and in the world of data mesh, basically anything that you're standing up and you put an API around, you can talk about as a data product. Here, we're very specifically talking about an analytical data product. So not a data product that's any point in your mesh, but something where we have deliberately designed and produced a data model to try and model a process to allow people to do analytics on top of it. So I want to be very specific. It's a type of data product we are talking about, analytical data products, which our definition isn't a dashboard. You're not going to treat every single bit of dashboard and self-serve as a product. It is the data model. It is the modeled representation of your process, which we treat as the absolute upheld, well-maintained, well-designed, articulated data product. Make sense?
Cool. Right. Back to what makes a good product. So not necessarily a good data product, but a good product in general. So we're borrowing from product thinking. So it needs to be valuable. So it has customers. It needs to solve a business problem for them. It needs to provide them with some sort of value. It needs to be usable. So it needs to be intuitive. You don't need to have reams and reams of documentation for the person to be able to use it. It needs to be intuitive. It needs to be feasible. So skills, technology that you might have. We don't want to be building something which is just not going to be suitable, and then viable. So it needs to be within the regulatory and commercial constraints that you might have as a business. But if that is what makes a good product, we need to measure the success of a product. So normally we would do the work, then we would launch it. And that's what a lot of the focus is on. And that's the easy bit. The difficult bit is getting the engagement, making sure that people are actually using it. We're responding to feedback. They are using what we think they might be wanting to use and not using it in a way in which it hasn't been designed to be used. We need to correct course. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we might build something which meets a need, but not all the needs, and it's making sure that we're making those corrections as we're going along so that the customer is satisfied. And at the end of that, we might say that it's a success, or we might say that it's actually a failure.
And there's a tricky definition there, right? In that, how many people know that a data product of theirs has failed? Okay, a handful. I reckon there are hundreds, thousands of data products that have failed, but we don't know they've failed because we're not actually measuring and we haven't set a benchmark going what good looks like. If you're not actually saying, is user engagement enough? Is it actually delivering value? Like a failed data product is one where you can't articulate it and say, this is delivering value, people are using it, this is great. And if you've just stopped there, if you've taken requirements, you treated it like a product, you had a really good feature set, you had a product owner, you built the thing, you deployed it, and then you went, gonna go and do the next one, you never really go back and know, was it successful or not? And that is the danger. And you might do some like operational bits, you might do uptime, you might go, it hasn't fallen over, doesn't tell you actually if it survives this first contact. So if you have done enough work that you can say a data product is failing, you're already way ahead of where so many people are. Because just the knowledge that it's not doing what it needs to do is already a fairly large gap from where people are. But yeah, it's tricky. So how do you measure it?
So we have lots of different KPIs. So under the reliability header, we have a load of engineering ones. These are like the easy ones, right?
Yeah.
Freshness, completeness, quality, timeliness is accurate. And then we've got the harder ones, the governance, the culture-related ones. Who's using it? How are they using it? Can they find it? Is it supported? And then we have our strategic ones under impact. What revenue is it generating? What efficiency gains are we making within our organization? And is it meeting the strategic requirements that we set out to achieve with this product?
And there's we say it's the easy side and the reliability side. That's the side that people most think of when you say data product. If you say I'm doing a data product, people think, oh, well, that means I'm going to have a data contract. That means I'm going to have this list of basically SLAs. There's going to be an agreement of, I'm going to promise my users I'm going to meet all these things, and that is just engineering. Just engineering. Still hard. You still need to have robust process and discipline and all that good stuff. But once you've built in, essentially, if your engineering processes have measurement of how often it was updated, how complete it is, if you've built those things, it's eminently reusable. You kind of get all those foundations in, and then that stuff's fairly repeatable once you've actually built those foundations. Hence why it's the easy bit in that it's the most obvious. If you're adopting data products, you're probably looking on that side and going, well, I need to actually upkeep all these things. And it's the user engagement, the value, the stuff is about actually how you measure. There's the minimum level of service you have to give, and then there's, are you delivering value? And it's the latter which is really hard. And that's where we get into the meat of things.
Yep. So when it comes to, I guess, the core of a data product, we are abstracting levels of complexity and ugliness away from a user. So we might have a physical data model which will be written in a way in which data architects like, prefixed with D for a dimension or F for a fact. These things don't mean anything to end users, but they mean a lot to people who care about them. And then we slap a semantic model over the top of it to abstract some of that complexity away, to rename things in a business-friendly way, as well as putting in the measures and KPIs and hierarchies that the business users care about. And then we slap a report over the top. And that is how most people interact with it. This is how most non-tech users interact with our data products. And throughout all this, we can deliver our reliability, our adoption, and our impact.
And there's different levels of ownership there. So if I'm talking to a data engineering team, and they're standing up for the thing, I've defined the product, they've got the SQL scripts or whatever they're building it in, they've built this thing, they're going to be looking at observability, is it complete, did it run, is it robust? And the focus is all down that side. And that's so far removed from, is the business user enjoying using this? Are they engaging with it? Are they getting value from it? And the further removed we are from the actual materialized data, the more we actually understand what the impact's having. But that means that different people are then involved in measuring the different value. Different people are looking after these different measurements, which then means it gets so muddied. And if you're talking to an engineering team who own the product, and you're like, well, people aren't adopting it, well, they're looking at actually how much are things used over there. And again, those levels of abstraction. I said the dashboard isn't the product, but for a whole swathe of non-technical users, the dashboard is their only window into the thing that you spent so long crafting. So trying to figure out how to make that better is pretty key. So there's challenges there, essentially.
Yep. So, dashboards, they are dead.
No, don't start.
So dashboards aren't dead, but sometimes they might not always have the answer in which we might want. We end up getting like a proliferation of dashboards trying to answer every single of trying to preempt every single question that a user might want to ask. So if a user is not able to go and find a question from a dashboard, they might pop into Excel. Everyone loves Excel, right?
Don't fight it. They're going to do it. It's fine.
Or if they're a bit more like tech savvy, they might write their own SQL. Or if they're really not that savvy at all, they might ask someone else to do it. So they're a little analyst in the way, trying to interpret the question, trying to interpret the requirements, building the answer to the question.
And therein lies one of the key problems. If we're saying the person we need to benefit, the one who's driving value, the person we really, really want to go, this data product is amazing, if they are like abstracted through another technical person who sits in the middle, and they go, oh, that's interesting, but why did that happen? They have a follow-up question. And then that question goes off to an analyst. The analyst goes and answers the question. They interpret the data for them. They pass it back. They get the answer. And they go, oh, but what about that? And it goes back. And you've got like maybe hours, days of that cycle of asking a question, of that curiosity, of the nuance, of the, oh, what about that cycle of having a question and then digging and digging and digging? If you're going through like this abstraction layer, it slows right down. And also, if they're the people going back and going, oh, this is what I need from the data product, you're not actually working out what your end users need, what the actual business users need, what the person making a decision. They're so far behind these layers of abstraction, we lose the ability to really go, have we built the right thing? And we're going somewhere with this, don't worry.
Okay. So we end up creating like a really large time to insight, or time to decision.
And then, so this is my most recent bent. Everyone's seen the survivorship bias thing, right? Very familiar. You've been to a data science talk before. Everyone uses this same picture. But essentially, it's the story of the planes coming back from World War I, Two.
World War II.
And essentially the mechanics looking at it and going, right, where do we need to add extra armor? Well, actually, all the bullets that we actually see are constantly around here. This is what we should go in armor, right? The reason being, the planes that didn't come back because they got shut down are the ones that got hit in those other areas. So it's misleading. The only data they had was about the survivors, which meant they were missing a load of information about the things they didn't know. And we have the same kind of thing when we talk about data products and star schemas. If we have a star schema and there's questions that they wanted to ask, but they couldn't, we don't really see that. That is information that just gets lost to the ether. We might have someone who is proactive and comes and complains going, I want to know about this, and that's great. But those follow-up questions, if they had an initial thing, I mean, oh, but what about, and we couldn't answer it. What about? And they went to the data analyst, and the data analyst feedback, no, you can't do that from the model. We never see that. That is then just lost information. So there is loads of stuff where we might be able to add more value, might be able to do more stuff. There's more value we can do, which we never see. Because people will only ask questions about what you present to them via the dashboard. The things that we've preempted and put in their face, they go, well, I'll only ask questions about that. So how do we design a data product that actually answers the right questions to start with? And then how do we start using conversational BI to actually get better questions is kind of where we want to go.
Yep. Cool. So our actual problem, so again, like the same lenses of reliability, adoption, and impact, is that reliability is going to be about that design. It's putting in those foundations, those ownership aspects of it, what we do every single day. And then with the adoption, we've got like, actually, how do we engage better with our customers? How do we find those questions that we want, that they want to ask, but we're not currently answering? How do we shorten that time to insights faster? Then with the impact, it's like, how do we actually shift that around to making the design itself more impactful? And then how do we do all the above, but faster and cheaper?
Yeah.
Perennial questions.
I'll say we'll give you a little crash course in terms of how we go about designing analytical data products. Like just how you go about, basically, talk to the business more tends to be the answer. But in terms of how we go about actually doing that, so you have a best starting point. And then we'll get on to conversational BI.
Correct. Cool. So, to design, we have a framework called Sunbeam, which is a way of making sure that the products we're building links back up to the strategic goals that we have as an organization. We can then kind of focus down onto like what are the key events and processes that underpin that strategic driver, and then design that collaboratively with users. So we're doing it in such a way that they don't really realize that they're designing a data product, but they're designing one anyway. And then we're validating that with user questions. So we're getting a load of questions up front, going like, cool, if this product existed, what questions would you be able to answer? And that's going to give them an idea of the business questions that they need answering at that point. So we're working from decision backwards kind of design. Then when it comes to implementing, we've got our design, we've figured out where the data is, and then we're very quickly moving into a prototyping phase. We're proving out that it exists. We're finding out whether the course we're taking is correct. We're correcting the course, we're using very early feedback, and we continue iterating throughout this value chain to make sure that the product that we're building is fit for purpose. So while delivery tends to look linearly, it's very much a process with governance and documentation and great service baked in.
And that goes against the expectations of some teams we work with. So sometimes we'll talk to a data architecture team, and we've gone through this design process, we've come up with something, we say, hey, here's the new data product, it's going to answer all these questions, it goes live, and then a month later we're like, oh, we're just going to change it. And we go, oh, you got to change it, okay, so you got it wrong. It's like, no, it's an iteration. It's live, it's responding to how people use it, and it's going to evolve. The assumption should be a product isn't finished. Our product is continuously added on and feature enriched, and you build things as people use it, and then as people start to use it, they go, oh, I never thought I could ask that question. And people are going to use things differently once they start using it. It's accepting the fact that agile and iteration is just part and parcel of what we do, and mind-boggling how many teams we speak to go, oh, we have to change it, that means we got it wrong. It's like, no, it is just how it works.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But